Greetings, Goddess Body Mind Spirit community. This is Tirra-Omilade. And y'all know I love helping women align with their life purpose using the power of ancient wisdom and the goddess centered lifestyle. Hey, y'all know I love coming on here dancing. All right, come on now. Y'all know that's how we do. That's how we warm things up. And I'm really excited about today because I am bringing on someone who's very special to me. Some of us don't get blessed with daughters. I love my sons, but I always thought I was gonna have a girl. And so whenever I get to work with a young woman, it just does my heart so much good. So I want to just bring on one of my coachees, one of my mentees, who is making that transition from the career that she has into this new career of healing. So many people know that they have been called to heal, but because we live in a society that doesn't really acknowledge this as a credible um, field of work, you can't even go to college and get a degree in any of this. A lot of us doubt, well, am I supposed to do this? Can I really make money at it? Because it is a path that you got to figure out how you're going to make your money at it or whatever. Or we doubt, that we even have the gifts, the skills, the talent. So I'm just so excited that I have been able to connect with, her name is Sierra Garrison, and just encourage her in this beautiful gift that she has. And so we wanted to come on today and have a conversation about what does it mean to step into being a healer, having someone to guide you in this path and the importance of it, because of course I have had so many teachers and guides, and just kind of talk about different healing modalities that a lot of us who are in this healing field love to share. Those of us who are seeking this kind of guidance love to receive from healers. So without further ado, I'd love to bring on Sierra. Hi,
Hello. Hey.
Sierra.
Thank you so
So
much.
glad you're here. I'm going to bring us a little closer together on the
Yes.
screen. Yes. Make us feel warm and cozy. Thank
Yes.
you for being here.
No, thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for working with me.
Oh, it's my honor. It has been so much fun. It's been so enriching. It has been wonderful. And it's always so wonderful to meet someone who is like, hey, what you do, that's what I want to do. It may not be exactly like what you do, but I want to do that. We need more of us up here doing this.
Right.
So thank you so much for hearing the call and answering it. And I'm just grateful to the mothers that you found me and that we are working together. So let's talk about this first and foremost. What um, First and foremost, let me share a little bit about myself.
Okay.
Um, I am a spiritual guide, a teacher, and I have had the privilege and opportunity to go through different initiations and to work with a main teacher. Her name is Ia Oshanike. Everybody know I work with Oshanike. Okay, everybody know I work with Oshanike. But a beautiful teacher, and I've had many other teachers also learning so much to help me to get onto a path that I knew I was a part of as a young person, but this did not exist in my world. In Mississippi in the 70s and 80s, there was no talk of healers unless it was sort of like on TV, kind of made fun of or whatever. I never imagined I would do this. And so just having different different touch points along the path of my life, such as like becoming really healthy in my eating, learning. I first began to really get deep into that with Queen Afua. She started
Mhm.
opening my eyes. Iyanla back in the 90s began to open my eyes to there's another world out here. People are doing something that I'm like, this is what I was born to do. And then eventually taking myself and putting myself firmly on this path of spirituality, personal growth, and development to the point where I'm like, no, this is what I was born to do. I was born to help people. And it's just been a journey. And it's always so interesting to me when I think about your age, that I got so much deeper into it when I was around the same age as you. And so for me to be working with you, it feels like a full circle moment, so that now I can help you get on your path, move even faster than I have moved in this healing work. And so I just wanted you to share a little bit about yourself and just how is it that you're now at this place where you're like, you know what? I'm,
This
I'm a healer. I was born to do
right.
this work.
Well, it's crazy that you said Queen of Food and Ilana Mansett, because I remember when I first got introduced to Ilana, maybe like 8 years ago, maybe about 10 years ago.
Okay.
And I was just like, I want to be her. Like, that's what I want to do. Yes. I wanted to be Ilana. I was like, I wanted to be a life coach. I'm like, I want to help people with their problems. But
Wow.
I was young. I was in my mid-20s. I'm like, who's going to listen to me when it comes to this? Like, I haven't experienced enough trauma. How am I going to help people even, see the other side? And so I kind of went down the route of like natural stuff. Like, oh, okay, well, I could talk on natural stuff. And then even I found Queen of Food maybe 4 years ago.
Mhm.
2 years ago, I was introduced to her. I was like, oh, I love this woman. Like, it makes so much sense. Like, you can't just heal yourself on the outside. You have to heal yourself on the inside as well. And so I'm like, those two people, I'm like, those, I mean, are the people that like kind of
There are
helped me
entry
along the
points.
way too. Right. And so now with, I experienced a trauma in January, and
Mhm.
from that, it brought me to one just stop. Like, I had to, everything went, out the door. And my what I who I identify as, I was like,
Mm.
is that me? That's not, and so I had to do some true trauma healing, like
Mm.
really. And in that, I was able to say, like, it was interesting to me, like
Mm.
doing the trauma, like healing. It was something that it didn't scare me. Like, I want to know more. I want to learn more. And
I'm a witness
e-
to it. That's how you've been the whole
right.
time we've worked together. True.
And that's what I was gonna say. Even working with you, I'm the one like, no, don't baby me. Like, give it to me the way it needs. Like, I don't need that baby. Like, I need to know for real, because and then even when you were saying, when you had told me that being a Scorpio, this is trauma is what we do. Like, and
Girl.
so along this, it was seeing that the way the West portrays how healing should be done, it doesn't sit right with me. It's like,
Mm.
for me, it's, we've had antidepressants medications for like maybe the last 40 years, and we have more people who are diagnosed with depression now, and even more people who are being hospitalized from it. So
Mm.
it's like something's not being done right. And that ancient wisdom,
Mm.
that, is just in some of us, it's just in us. Like, we just know, we know this is how it is. And
This
working
is true.
with you, you have been able to let me reconnect with that, and not
Mm.
only reconnect with it, but like,
Mm.
no, it's for real. Like,
Mm.
oh, you're not crazy. This is a gift. And so now it's like, I
Mm.
can't see myself, like, I don't want to go back to that falsehood American dream, White
Right.
House with a pic, just
Girl.
what I used to say is, I, well, what I say is that I have to do my affirmations. I have to do my yoga. I have to do my journaling. I have to do my breath work. Like, I have to
Mhm.
do it on a daily so that I can stay sane. Whereas before, it was
Mm.
almost not, doing meditations and doing affirmations. It was like on a not a true spiritual level. I'm doing it so I could achieve this goal. Every manifestor is like, do this. And it was like, it wasn't coming from that place of like true spiritual. And so now
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, this is something different.
Yeah.
It feels wonderful. So I was like, I want to be able to do this work and help others.
A lot of times when we get onto this healing journey, that's how it works. We need the healing,
Mm-hmm.
we get it, and then it's like, I can't just keep this for myself.
Right.
Now, not everybody's going to do that, but when you are born to do healing work, you will realize, okay, I've got to get out and help others in the same way, help others take their spirituality deeper. And though, using things like affirmations for success is important, the thing is this: why do we want the success? And so when we start looking at it from a deeper, like that place that's deep within us that has to do with our destiny, it has to do with our
Mm-hmm.
purpose, then the affirmations just become almost natural. This is
Yeah.
not something that's made up. You don't do it just because someone told you this will help you manifest. It's more of like it's a natural extension of you knowing who and what you are. And then this notion of the Western way of healing with all the medication, which now it's even out. A lot of people are not talking about it, but it is out that whatever was set up to say that depression, you just need you can use a chemical, like there's something in the brain. It's not true. It was like built on faulty research or something. I don't remember all that. So what did people do? Because things like depression and anxiety, it was kind of looked at back in the day as like maybe this person was possessed. How did we handle this? We went to the healers.
Mm-hmm.
We went to the shaman, we went to the babas, the medicine women back in the day. And so what I always say is we now have the ancient coming into modern society because we need it, but it will be applied differently because the things that we're dealing with in this modern day age did not exist back
No.
then. Right. And so it's going to take a whole new level of understanding the wisdom and new healers to apply it. Because the old way, even 20 years ago, people really are going to have to step up and start doing things
Mm-hmm.
a little bit to make it so that it's applicable now. Let me say it that way. Um, and so I just love that you said, you realized this was the path that you wanted to take, that you see that it works. And hold on.
I'm
There,
sorry.
there she is. Okay. You see that it works and that now you want to share it with others. So let's talk about energy work. Um, I love energy work. I love energy healing. One of the first modalities that I learned as a healer is Reiki. And so I don't really use Reiki at all. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm not feeling good. Let me Reiki myself.
Right.
But I do know Reiki is real. I've used it
Yes.
on people and seen how it works. My position is that everything is energy
Mm-hmm.
and everything is energy work. The question is like where your level of consciousness is in terms of like understanding you're working with energy. Because actually taking a pill,
Right.
it can be looked at as energy work in a certain degree. But we want this energy work to be where we are activating our own natural system to heal itself. And so there are lots of healing modalities that I like to recommend. And of course, you and I have talked about them. But one in particular is, say, for instance, energy medicine, where we're tapping on different parts of our body to, keep the energy in our body flowing. Most people see this, but it is really we're like consciousness and
Mm-hmm.
energy. It's like there's a part of us that we cannot see. And once we begin to learn how to manifest or work with the energy of our system, then like you talked about that trauma, we first of all, we can keep that trauma from being stuck
Yes.
within us. But also we can learn how to move the energy because I think a lot of times people are stressed about doing healing work and energy work because they already know it's going to come up. And so our job as healers is to really keep
Mm-hmm.
that energy moving, to keep that energy flowing so that maybe it comes up, but then we actually have some tools that we can release and let go of. So just tell me a little bit about what your thoughts on our energy work, maybe from somebody who has received the energy work. Talk about other healers that you work with. Feel free to do that. But and also, like, what are you leaning towards? Because one of the things I want people to know is that not only are you my coachee, you're my mentee.
Right.
And so we have been talking about the healing modalities that really resonate for you and that you do very well at. So let's talk about that a little bit.
So definitely Reiki. That is something that, especially right after my trauma, I had to do a couple of sessions.
Okay. Yeah.
And but even before the trauma that occurred in January, I had already done like 2 Reikis, and it is something that if you're open to it, it can it's almost like, like you're storing all this energy. Because I think about, because I'm like, I think it's time for me to get a Reiki done, because I'm like, I haven't been cleansing. You go around so many types of different energies, and even you are keeping that energy inside, and you're not allowing it to flow through. Or
So what were some of the main things that happened for you? Maybe give 1 or 2 things where you're like,
okay.
"Ooh, this
So
worked."
So when I first got the Reiki done, she explained to me I had a lot going on in my head. So she was
Okay.
like, "You had a lot of talking," which I kind of nonstop, like in my mind, like I have 5 conversations going at once with myself. Yeah. And so she was like, "You might have a little bit of a headache when you leave from here." So you say I'm a Scorpio, I do my research. So I had already researched what would happen after heal. And so I read where they said, well, some people have vivid dreams, some people, they don't experience that. And so when I left from there, I went out to eat with a friend. And in the midst of like doing this, it was like I guess my energy, like for me, I felt like it was just so clean and so fresh. It was attracting like multiple people. I was just like,
Wow.
okay, I get people who will try to talk to me, but it was like, I'm not even stepping out the car yet. And it was just,
What?
yes. It was even a man who was having dinner with his girlfriend, had the waiter come over and say something to me. And I was like,
Look, everybody now is getting ready to sign up for Reiki.
right. I mean, and I didn't have on a tight outfit. I didn't have on a whole bunch of makeup. So I was just like, this has to be the energy. Like, I'm like it's as if they could just, feel my energy. And so right after that, I ended up getting a bad headache. It was like, couldn't keep my eyes open,
Interesting.
lay down. Then that night, I did have a whole bunch of like vivid dreams. I already have vivid dreams, but they were like dreams and stuff. But then right after that, the day after, it was like stuff that I had been trying to manifest or things that I wanted to do just out of nowhere. It was just
Interesting.
falling into place. And so that for me was just like, oh, I believe in Reiki. Like, obviously I had some blockish energy, and once it was cleared out, it helped me to start vibrating at a higher level. So even in this moment, in January, it was like, okay, I need some healing work to be done, some Reiki. You introduced me into tapping. So now I'm like, just tap. When I feel, my son, my
Look, all the moms are
husband,
like, okay,
I'm
yeah,
gonna
you said
tap.
your
I'm like,
son?
I'm not
Okay,
gonna
yeah.
leave it here. Right. And so I do love that, because it's also something that, like, you could do it anywhere, and you could be anywhere. You could do it in that moment real quick. And it really does, it will change that energy that's inside of you. For me, also movement. Oh, like yoga. I was just telling my stepfather that I was listening to a guy, and he was saying that yoga is one of the most successful tools when it comes to trauma and trauma healing.
Really?
Yes, he was like, but they're
Interesting.
not going to tell you that, because you can't make money that much. You can't prescribe yoga like that. You can't do it. But he was
Mhm.
saying, and I was like, it makes a lot of sense, because with yoga, you're doing movements. Not only you're doing movements, you're doing breath work.
Yep.
And then a lot of the times too, it's like it takes you into a meditation state.
That's true.
And so I tell
Interesting.
them there was a time where I was just heavy in grief. Like I'm at the point now where I can feel emotions in my body. I'm tapped in a little bit more where I can feel it in my body. So the grief was
I love
just
that.
so heavy on my body. Like I could feel it through it. And I was like, I gotta move this out. And I did the Queen of Fu womb yoga. Love it, love it. And
Wow.
after I did it, it was just like, huh. I got up and took a shower. Like I had laid in the bed till 6 o'clock that day. Didn't eat, didn't, because just the trauma I had experienced was just so like I couldn't. And so I was like, I have to do something. And so after I did that, I was able to take a shower. I was able to get up clean. And I was like, it was as if a weighted blanket had been lifted off of me. Like
That is
I was
deep.
laying down and the weighted blanket was on me and someone just snatched it off. And I
Wow.
was like, that is amazing. What that did, you know what I'm saying? And so energy work is, I love it. I definitely love it.
Yeah, and you bring up a really good point because something that you and I've been talking about is how um oftentimes you made a video, which I have put Sierra's information down at the bottom of the video, but you made such a powerful video on what is trauma. And one of the things that you talked about is, especially in the Black community and maybe other communities of color also have, or marginalized communities, I think about those communities too. We think it's our personality, but it's really trauma. And one of the solutions, it sounds like, could be something like yoga
Yes.
or the tapping, the energy medicine, Reiki. The thing with yoga was you move the body. You said you're gonna doing the breath work. That's
Even
another
breathing.
thing.
Oh, breathing could take me. That's the first thing I go to is breathing.
That's
And that
beautiful.
would take me to a whole, like, it just helps you. I tell everybody, and I'm gonna tell you when I've been talking to people, I'm like, when was the last time you consciously, like, you sat there and they're like, I'm like, have you ever even done it? I'm like, no. Like, I'm like, that right there says a lot, that we're not even taught what breathing can do for us. And once you for me, if I stop and I breathe, and if I'm angry prior to that, I can't still be angry. I'm
It's
unable.
true.
Like I really can. It's like it. Oh, okay. To me, it's like popping a Xanax automatically. So it's like breath work.
Honestly, you are telling the truth. Like something that I think, what sometimes I say, because it's free, people don't do it.
I was just about to say that we live in a capitalism, society to where if they can't capitalize off of it, we're not going to push it. We're not going to push that.
Yeah.
We're going to
But
push that
breath
the
work
narrative.
is one of the first things, like if everyone turned to breath work, that just like what you're
We would
saying,
be the politicians would be getting along with each other.
girl.
We be
Because
living
like
in
you
a whole
said, after you let's everybody take 5 deep breaths. After that, you're
right.
gonna feel
That's what they need. You
calmer.
know what? That's what they need to be doing in Congress. Like just breathe. Like let's teach you. My younger son, he was learning yoga in 3. I'm like, no, we need to be teaching this to other. Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Actually, they are teaching yoga to children more. I actually got
Mm-hmm.
certified to teach yoga to children.
Oh,
Um,
I don't know if I'm to have that much patience, but
yeah, I'm done.
because I would look at the pictures and I'm like, what were you doing? You were supposed to be on the mat.
You're cracking me up.
But it does. I love that because it is teaching them at a young age an awareness of your body, awareness of your breath work and stuff like which we were not taught.
Sierra, you're only in your 30s, so
I know you keep
that's
telling
how
me.
that's how recent this is that the young folks getting taught, but not even your generation.
I know you remind me all the time. So I'm like, well, people thought I was weird, but you was like, look where you're at. Imagine for me when I'm like, yeah.
You can't give me up. Okay, so let's talk about outside of energy work, which
Yes.
I don't even see how I could not live without energy work at this
Mm,
point. But
mm-mm.
let's talk about spiritual readings
Yeah.
and how they work. And one of the things that we can talk about is um, how I'll say this initially readings are ancient.
Mhm,
And, we talk about how there have been powers that be want to control the populace.
mhm,
And one of the best games that has been run on us is make them think anything that empowers them, such as astrology,
mhm,
readings, going to the shaman, all that. And it's been problems. There's been folks that have abused that, but for the most part, it's just been a negative light cast on it. Don't do that. That's evil. That's bad. It's not good for you. And
mhm.
then what I began to say to myself when I was younger was, well, how is what I'm doing working for me? I'm miserable every day of my life. I ain't got no relief. And
Mhm.
it seems like life just happens. I don't know. I don't know. Like, it's like I'm so scared to live because I really and truly cannot predict the future. And
Right.
then there's so much distrust built into our, like, don't trust yourself. You can
Mhm.
never trust yourself. Everybody knows better than you, right? That
Mm.
we are unable to like trust our inner guides and inner guidance and all of that. And let's not forget about the fact that we've been told this is what you do, and then we're like, this ain't working for me. I'm not happy with this, right? So when I started getting readings, I had sweaty armpits, hands were shaking. I was raised up in the Christian church. So, it's like they were like, don't do it, it's
Right.
evil. But what happened for me, actually, it's interesting that you're saying what you said about there was a trauma that happened in your life in January. What really set me into motion in my spiritual path was my trauma of my mother dying when I was 27. And that's when I was like, I'm gonna go get a reading.
Yeah.
I just need to see what is this? Is there anything to it? My first reading, it was with a young priest and priestess couple here in the Nashville area. And I'll definitely say the lady's name, Ola Omi, because I'm still connected to her. Um, Baba Jabari is who she was married to at the time. And I just like saying people's names because the priests and priestesses of the diaspora are not well known. Nobody really talks about us. We do a lot of our work underground. So I just wanted to say their names because to honor them. So they
Yeah.
do this reading. To this day, I remember what I got in that reading. One of the things that it said in there was respect other people's taboos. Um, I was like, okay, so that means I need to not be proselytizing into my spirituality. So I was like, all right, honor other people's taboos. And another one was something to the effect of I was going to give birth. And she was like, it could be a baby or it could be something else or whatever. I don't know. Girl, it was a baby. Okay, it was a baby. I was like, oh my God, this is like real.
Right.
And I
Right.
wasn't pregnant at the time either. So anywho, um, yeah, I got that reading and it was so healing for me. And I just was like, I hooked up with my godparents and I started getting readings from them. And then I was like, oh my gosh, I can't be waiting to get a reading.
Mhm.
So I got to learn how to do my own readings. And essentially, what ended up happening was I found out I had a gift at doing readings. So again, here we are born into a culture where our career as healers is not even defined. Okay. There's no like, okay, I want to be a teacher, a doctor, a healer, a firefighter. No, healer is doctor, right?
Mhm.
So, I realized I'm really good at divination, which the signs were always there when I was a girl because everyone would say, wow, you wise beyond your years. And so I just started doing my own readings and I just didn't feel so lost in
Mhm.
doing readings. And yes, like I don't have my oracle deck right here, but I had an oracle deck. Well, I still have it. And I would just do reading after reading after reading for myself. I started doing readings for other people. But what I loved about this was this oracle deck is based in ancient Egypt, which it doesn't matter what the deck looks like as long as it works for the person. But for me, I needed some black folk. So this has like these black deities on there from Egypt, and Africa, speaking into my life, helping me to, like, I would wake up and ask the question, like, what's the energy surrounding me today? I do that to this day. Did it already this morning. What's the energy surrounding me today? Right. And it kind of would like give me something to think about. Sometimes I wouldn't understand the reading, and then something would happen. I'd be like, oh, that's what the oracle was
Mhm.
like. Watch thinking, or, this may be a day where you're ultra emotional. So you might need to like do some things to take good care of yourself. So me not only having experienced the trauma of my mother dying, but I was raised up in trauma,
Mhm.
violence, alcoholism. I would say those are the biggest two. And it was like the world does not feel safe. And then operating from my trauma, like you talked about in your video, didn't even know, for the longest time I'm operating from my trauma. So once I started doing readings, it helped me to begin to reel my energy in a little bit more. And though I didn't understand myself fully, at least I wasn't just acting out all the time. But it then actually kind of became like, wait a minute, this oracle is like a guide. It's like a
Mhm.
roadmap
Yeah.
that I can use to navigate my life. And that's actually what I teach people. So for me, readings have turned out to be something that is one or two things. It is, I am completely lost and I need some help. If it's 2 o'clock in the morning, I don't have to worry about waking up a friend. I don't have to worry about, well, I should have said, I don't have to worry about tapping my husband, who's going to be looking at me like, I got to get up and go to work, girl. What you doing? I don't have
Right.
to worry about calling my friend. No, I can get up and I can pick up my oracle deck.
Mhm.
Uh, I can pick up my little deck and I can say, I just need a word. The
Yes.
other part of getting a reading for me has been, I can I feel pretty confident about what I'm doing. I just want to see, like, am I headed in the right direction? Is there something that I'm missing? Because a lot of times I find that the oracle will tell me, it'll confirm this is what's going on. This is what you need to do. Now, people can play all these games with, of course, it's going to say that because you were thinking it. No, there's been plenty of times I'm like, Oracle, I feel it. This is what I'm supposed to do. Come on,
Yes.
please, Oracle, please say yes, say yes. And that oracle be like, hell no. It'll be giving me the cards where, like, the dark deceased, or like there's this one card, whatever it says do, I'm gonna do. If it says yes, I'm doing it.
Right.
If it says no, I'm not doing it. It'll be giving me that card like, no, no,
Yeah.
no, Tyra. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I've had it both ways where the oracle's like, girl,
Mhm.
yes, you are on point, and hell to the no. And a
Right.
lot of times it might take a little bit of time down the path for me to see, oh,
That's why.
that's why the oracle said don't do
Mhm.
it. So tell me your experience with readings. What do you think about readings?
So, I've always been interested. Like, it intrigued me. Readings intrigued me. So, I think I had a reading done for the first time, like a real one, maybe like 10 years ago.
Okay.
And then I got another. And those, it like introduced me because they weren't, it wasn't nothing like a spiritual connection or anything like that. Um, and then after my trauma in January, at this point, I think I probably had every reading you can think of. I've had it. Yes, I've done it. Needed to experience it, but
Love it.
for me, it was um, I needed answers, and it wasn't gonna come in physical for me. It's like this, what has happened. There has to be a spiritual side to this. This is it. It was a lot that just was not adding up for me. So I need to know. Like, I need to know why did this happen? It can't just be because in vain. Um,
Good for you.
and so so right after that, I had one with a shaman. Um, and we actually did a family. It was me, my son, and my husband. And when we did it, it was supposed to be like an hour and a half. I think she stayed in our room for like 3.5 hours. Yes. And I gave her little information over the phone. And I'm gonna tell you, I have been blessed, and I like to say these are my spiritual guides. Anytime I look for someone, um, the first person that comes to me is like, oh, this is what I'm glad I chose this person. I'm glad it always works out for me like that. I have yet to work with someone like, nah, I need someone like, no, this isn't working. So I definitely, so
I love
finding her
that.
was like a gift from my spiritual guide, like, you know. And so in the way she worked, she was the way she worked was, she said, I don't work with everybody unless I know I'm meant. She was like, I won't tell you anything unless it comes to me. I'm not one of those that's gonna, you know, just make up stuff or whatever.
Nice.
And she knew exactly what I needed, what my husband needed, and what my son needed.
Wow.
She was able to kind of relate to us what was going on in the ancestral
Okay.
of things as
Mm,
well,
mm.
which just kind of helped us like. But even in that, it, because I, all the readings I'm like, I get, you know, we got the readings for a certain reason for this trauma.
Yes.
And that was never really coming up. It was like other stuff would always come up.
Really?
Yeah. And so I worked with her a couple more times where she did. It was almost like, okay, I need to know. And then she told me, she was like, you don't need to work with me you don't need a reading, like the type of reading she does. She was like, you don't need one of these every week. She was like, you have it in you. And she even told me in one of the
Interesting.
readings that she told me that I was like an ancient soul and I was a healer. And I have been doing healing work since you know, she was like, so all of it will start coming back to you. You know these things.
Mm, mm.
Um, I've gotten Ifi readings, Odus, which I love. I love the Odus because like they are just so much wisdom, so much wisdom.
It's so healing.
Yes. Astrology readings, and I use readings now not just to help heal from trauma, but raising my son. Like, hold up, he's a teenager. You know, they don't tell you everything. They're not going to tell you everything because they don't even know what's really going on. So we will get readings to see what energy is governing him, what is going on around him, and how
Yes,
can we
ma'am.
work. Yes, how can we work to help him? You know, we've always been told there is no guidebook or rules to how to raise it. Yes, there is. We had that. We had it, but it was taken away. And so for me, one of those is readings. And so I know I can vouch it's helped my husband, it's helped my son. And now like, so then I started because I'm a strong believer, you know, you don't just do stuff just to do it. And it kind of, what scared me from doing like readings for myself was because you would see so many people on social media who's doing these readings and we're like,
Interesting.
yeah. And so I was like, well, I don't want to be one of those who just say, oh, this is what I'm doing. But immediately, once I got a deck, and I just got like a goddess oracle deck that has like the black ancient goddesses. I love it. I think you have it.
You're bringing it out, baby.
African guy. I love that. And I started doing readings and I was like, for myself. And so then I'm the type like, you know, you want a reading, you want me, you know, I'm for my mom. And my mom was like, that was on point. And everybody who I would do one for, it was just a family, they're like, that was so on point. I had people cry and I'm like, okay, maybe I do have the gift, you know, maybe this is something, you know, because even the shaman, she was telling me about tarot and I'm like, I've never done tarot reading. She was like, you've never done, she was like, see, in spiritual world, you're a high priestess and you've done this. So she's like, so I'm relating to you on that level. And so
Interesting.
now, like you said, every day for me is, I'll kind of change it up. I might on Mondays, definitely on Mondays, I love to do a reading for myself.
I
And
love
I'll
that.
do
Yeah.
more in depth where I'll do like my oracle card deck and then I'll do tarot to go along with it to get even more. And I'll kind of use whatever comes from that. I'll like write those down for the
I
week.
love that.
This is what I need to be doing. This is what I need to work on. And like you said, it will say stuff so you could be aware, like Okay, we might have some issues with, resources, or it might be something that comes up
Mhm,
like, and
mhm.
so when that moment occurs, it's like, I can react this way, but I know the cards had said this, so let me react in a higher vibrating level so I can learn.
See?
And so that helps me to like, okay, to what I need to get through in the week. And even on this journey of becoming a spiritual healer, and all the cards keep stay on path, keep doing, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm like, there's
I've been
times I'm
watching
like,
you try to back out of it, and I'm
yeah, I'm
like,
like back,
"No,
like
ma'am."
I don't know if I should do this, and then I'll go do a reading, and it's like, I'm like, okay, because the reading's like, no, this is what you should be doing. And so for me, it's just I know um that on my spiritual healing, I wouldn't be where I'm at unless I got that. It's on like,
Interesting.
I know it's my spiritual guides talking to me, and they're helping show me and lead in the way. And as well as I can say, when this first started happening, I did start working with a therapist, and I believe I'm so grateful for our therapists, especially our Black therapists, that
Mhm.
we are just starting to come to where Black people are comfortable with saying I have a therapist.
That's true.
But for me, in that moment, I needed something a little bit more deeper.
Mhm.
So when I did go, it was like something, I wanted answers that, she didn't, she's asking me things like, well, how are you feeling? And it's like, no, it has nothing. I need to know, like,
Yeah.
and so that is what led me to find I think I Googled like spiritual trauma healers or something like that. Because I was like,
Really?
there has to be maybe a therapist who is like a therapist, is a doctor, but uses a more holistic way of things.
Mhm.
And that's what led me to the shaman, to who I
Interesting.
to working with. And in that instance, it was like in that hour, she read me my whole life
Wow.
without me. It was like, because I felt working with that therapist, she was very good at what she did. But because I was so traumatized, I held stuff in. It would have probably took a year for us to get down into what was really going on. Whereas
Gotcha.
with the shaman, you can't bullshit. You
Yeah.
you can't in these readings, you can't, like, you can lie to a therapist, and a therapist might not know unless they know other stuff. But when these healers are doing these readings for you,
That is so
it was
good.
like, yeah, she was like, this is what's showing up. This is, and I'm like, yeah, you're right. Like, and so
Interesting.
that has been my experience with readings, and there's no way I could go back to not using them again. There's no way.
I
Yes.
can't even imagine. Like, girl, I will make an or if I had to
Oh,
get 4 pennies to make a
that's
reading.
what I did. That is so funny. So before I started with before I got my Oracle deck, and I had 4 pennies, and I
Wow.
was like, "Oh, Shun, bless these 4 pennies," and help me do. I'm gonna ask some questions, and I'm like, I was like you. I'm asking a question, and it's coming back no, and I'm like, "Are you sure?" Or it was saying, "Yeah." I'm like, "One more time," and then I was like, "You know what? I'm not gonna disrespect. I'm gonna go with what you said.
I love that you said
I'm
that.
angry you, so I'm gonna go ahead." Yes. So yeah, I'm like buttons, like, but that for me, that was also a sign that yes, I have the gift. Yes, I have. I I've done this in past lifetimes. And this is what our ancestors did. This is how we've survived. In one of the Amalidoma Somé book, where he was discussing how in their tribe they believe when something physically is happening to you, it's also on a spiritual level as well. So when you go, let's say the person is sick and they can't even get out the bed, they're doing a reading. They're not doing body scans, they're not drawing blood. They're doing a reading, and they are tapping in to see, and then they're prescribing.
Exactly.
And then because they understand, like, as above, so below. Like, we have to. It's all one. So
Yes. So one thing that I love, I love everything that you share. It was just so I don't know, I just really felt it. Profound, maybe is the word I'm looking for. And one thing that you said that I think is a common thread amongst healers is that number one, you actually are stepping into it, but you already are born a healer. We're born to do this work.
Mm-hmm.
And but it does take a minute for people to feel more confident in that. I went through that also. It's like I really feel I'm supposed to do this, but it feels so foreign. And it's not people out there like, girl, you want to do healing work? That's good. Most of the time people are like, what are you doing? Are you like dealing with Satan or something like that? So I really love that. And then this notion of, let me see, what was the second thing I was going to tell you? I want to mention that to you. But with doing readings, I know it's something about that. With doing readings, I love that you started sharing the readings with other people so that
Mm-hmm.
you could see how much these readings really do help other people, um and to just watch you grow and develop in that way. I'm like the shaman. I know your chart. Your
Right.
chart says you're a healer. What are your signs? What is your sun, moon, and ascendant?
Okay. So I always because I'm like, I need to write this down. I knew this. I'm like, because I know you talk about Scorpio and Virgo, but I always get messed up. What is what?
Capricorn.
Okay, look, I say I still have trauma brain, okay? Like pregnancy brain. Trauma brain is real. So
Not a problem. I should not have put you on the spot like that.
no, that's okay. Because I'm
And
always
typically we
whenever
talk more actually about your rising sign, which you're rising
yeah,
Virgo, because I'm trying
yeah,
to sell you on this. You're a healer. Virgos are
right,
healers. You
right.
got all this energy in Scorpio. Scorpios are healers. I
Yes.
actually think Capricorns are healers too. Most Capricorns I know are very much into like eating a certain way. Oh, you do
Mm-hmm.
that too, but I kind of
Mm-hmm.
attribute that to your Virgo. Um, Eating in a healing way, I'll say it
Yes.
that way, using crystals, and Capricorns are the best. They're such healing people. So yeah, I love that for you. And so you talked about your guides, and
Mm-hmm.
it's two different guides that I think is important for people to know about. First and foremost, it's the non-physical guides, and then there's the physical guides.
Yes.
And so with the non-physical guides, those are the ones that everybody kind of knows is there. They'll be like, I don't know what, something just told me. Or,
Yeah.
sometimes people kind of feel it or whatever, or maybe they kind of think about their ancestors or something. But for healers, guides are everything, because it's like you realize you're a channel when you're
Mm-hmm.
a healer. And so when we are working, so for instance, like when I'm working with you, a lot of times I put myself in a very neutral state, and I just tell myself I'm just going to listen, and it's almost like I feel your vibration. I hear the words coming, but I also feel a vibration coming from you also. And then I just, sometimes my guides are like, this is a time to be quiet and allow her to speak. And then sometimes my guides are like, say this. And I'll be like, okay. And initially I'm like, wait a minute, you want me to say what? What do you want me to say? Um, and then, but now it's like, nah, if I hear it, I'm like, this is what I'm hearing. Tell me what you think about it. Right. Sometimes my guides would tell me things that, even you or whoever I'm working with kind of like, it's like, oh, I never even saw that before. Like, I didn't know that. So to have the non-physical guides, and I just need to pause for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what I wanted to say about the readings was the beauty of getting a reading from somebody who's really called to do this work, like me and you,
Mm-hmm.
is they do get that insight. And I know I totally like shifted the conversation back, but I
No.
will forget because I got trauma brain, but not from recent trauma, like long time ago trauma. Plus my Mercury is in Pisces. Um, so the what will happen is these readings, because you were like, you know, they start looking at the body. And I
Right.
recently had to go to the hospital and get checked. I had some anxiety, and they were like, nothing's wrong with you. And they released me. I was like, okay, it feels like something's wrong with me. But had I been working, living back in a different time, like what we
Mm-hmm.
talked about with Maladoma people, they would have looked and been like, oh, she feels off about something,
Yes.
and then they make the prescription. I have seen so many times. I even had a woman come to me recently who was like, well, I love what you said, which was when you went to the shaman, you were like, my whole life got read. And
Right.
in that moment, you had a level of clarity. Maybe you didn't understand everything, but you had a level of
Mm-hmm.
clarity. And so when people think readings are evil,
Yeah.
all you need to do is go and give somebody your information where they almost know nothing,
Right.
and they tell you everything. You're like, there's no way. And it's not Satan. It's because, let's go back to the first part of
Right.
the conversation, it's because everything is energy. And
Yes.
so people can read energy.
Mm-hmm.
And why do we want our energy read? So that somebody who's gone through a very traumatic experience
Mm-hmm.
has a chance of getting some relief. Like you said, you just wanted to be able to get up out the bed. You could not even get up.
Mm-hmm.
So you go to the shaman, and you're like, now I realize there's something else out there. There's some
Yeah.
help that I can get. I can attest to the fact that you've been like, my path is healing through spirituality and my body and my emotions and my mind. I can attest to that's how you have been working on healing your trauma, or living with where you are on your path to
Yeah.
complete, healing. And so this is the importance of having a good reading from somebody, because I'm telling you, this system that we're in, there are a lot of good doctors, there's a lot of good therapists. These people care so much about what they
Mm-hmm.
do, but there is something inherently flawed in this system that it's not healing. Okay, it's not a healing system. It's a system. Like when I went to the hospital, I made a decision that y'all better hope nothing traumatic ever happens to me, because guess what, I'm gonna tell you, let me die before you take me to the hospital. I just don't. I was like, this is like the worst place I could have ever come, and that's not really what we're looking for. So getting these readings, working with healers, so important. And healers work with guides. And so that's one thing, that's one guide. And then we have our physical guides.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on one second. Is that from you? Oh no, I'm sorry. I saw something come through and I was like, am I getting a message from Sierra? um and so then we have the physical guide. So for instance, I studied under Oshinike, and still do study under Oshinike, who actually is a therapist turned priestess.
Mm-hmm.
And she has worked to help. Let me close this out because
Yeah.
this is beeping. And so she helped me to start my training as a healer, a priestess. I've done a lot of apprenticeship working as, that's really how we do it. You do not have to go
Yeah.
to a college. You work with a healer and you learn how to be a healer. And so then in Ia working with me, what I did with her was I helped her help other people step onto this path. So for instance, I'm a priestess of the sacred feminine mysteries. I'm also a priestess of Yamanja. And then that has allowed me to be able to help other people like you start your path. So for instance, you have gone through the first part of the priestess training, which is called the spiritual aspirant initiation. Not everybody becomes a priestess. It's for any woman, but it's certain ones of y'all. I'm like, oh, she gonna be a priestess. I'm gonna have to get this priestess stuff together so I can get you on your initiation path. Um, but it's been a lot of healers that I've worked with. It's like learning all the healing modalities. I know hypnotherapy, NLP, different things like that. I've worked with teachers who've helped me learn better how to do readings. And so that's a lot of what I'm doing with you, is helping you to understand who you are. Like, what are your gifts? You're not going to be just like me, but we similar. What are your gifts? And help you to feel that confidence in knowing that what you said was like so perfect, your style of reading so perfect. I've been able to witness the readings that you do for yourself and kind of hear the feedback that you've gotten for the readings that you've done for other people. as well as the suggestions that you've been making. It is really important, or not important, it's really apparent that you do have a gift. You have a gift of wisdom. You have what another thing about a healer is healers have hearts. A lot of times what I hear about myself is she cares. When
Yeah.
people find me online,
Mm-hmm.
they'll say the one thing that is most different about you, Tyra, is that I can tell you actually really care about people. You really are authentic and genuine.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I love about you. You're like, I want to make sure look from the Christian church. I want to study to show myself approved, baby. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I love that about you, and how you're continuing to practice, because that's really what healing is about. That's why we have healing practices. We're
Right.
healing practitioners,
Mm-hmm.
and it is because you do it over and over and over again. So tell me what you think about, like, we've heard you talk about working with your guides as well as working with your physical guides.
No, so on point, especially with the spiritual guy, you being the physical, the physical spiritual guy for me, showing, um, and it is something that, it's not something you could just read. It is something that you have to practice on a daily, and you have to apprenticeship underneath it. Um, and so when I started working with you and you gave me the opportunity to do SAI, I was like, oh, yes. I was like, this is what I breathe, like, I loved it and stuff. And I know you were like, you don't think that's too, it's not too much. I'm like, no, like, yes, this is
You
what
were all in.
I was all in. And even on my spirituality journey, right now with Asheshe, with Ephi, um, I love it again because it has a it's more of a spiritual side as well. And so I have my teacher, my priestess, who's also helping me with that. And like, she's that physical guy for me. She's been there for me. But definitely you, and it's like they work, for me, it's like they work, like they work it works together, because
That's
I
true.
know it was my spiritual guides who brought me to you.
Mhm.
Like, I was looking up Oshun videos, and your video came up, and I was just like, okay, what if she does work? Like, and so that led me to you. And even like when I was saying, spiritual God, they have a way, like when I meeting our priestess, like, some of the temples in Atlanta don't have the best names, but I'm blessed that the first one I went, I
Wow.
knew it was home. I was like, this is home for me. I had never felt like that any other place. And
That's
being in
amazing.
that temple, the sounds of the drums, the vibration of the drums, it spiritually took me. And this is before my trauma. It spiritually took me somewhere else. So,
I
but
didn't know that you went there before your trauma.
I
Okay.
did, like 3 years ago. No, maybe 4 years ago. But we didn't get into the learning. We didn't,
I
we
see.
would just
Okay.
go when it was open to the public.
Mm.
After my trauma, I knew, I was like, I need something spiritually. I need something, and so immediately we started classes, and
Nice.
that along with working with you is like is in doing the healing work is with God in me.
Beautiful.
But like, your spiritual guys will pick your physical guys for you.
This is truth.
They will. Like, that is what's gonna happen. And then also, when we go back to readings, what I want to say too is, I believe why the first two readings didn't really set and resonate with me, because they were just readings.
Good
Whereas
point.
even with in the EFI community, when you do a reading, you have an ebo that goes with it. So you have a healing plan that goes along with it, in a sense. With you don't just give me readings, here, figure it out. It's okay, this is what this might look like, Sierra. This is what it might show up like. These are the things that you could do to help prepare you for this week. And so that's the thing for me, so that when that week happens, and let's say I hadn't gotten a spiritual reading, but you already told me, look, this is going to be a little bit harder of a week for you. You're going to experience grief a little bit more. It's going to be brought up a little bit more. And so if I hadn't known that, when that grief did hit me a little bit harder, my old self would have been like, what is wrong with me? Why am
Yep.
I not healing? Why am I
Yep.
living? Where I'm like, no, this is temporary. It's a reason I'm supposed to be feeling this right now. This is
Yep.
part of the journey. And then you give me ways to use it. So to me, that is the type of work I want to do. I don't want
Mm.
out here just doing quick readings, just in and out. Like, no, like if I'm giving you a reading, I want to help you. like, okay, this is what you can be doing. This is what, and I don't know if it was you who told me this or if it was my other priestess, but basically was saying like with a reading, a lot of us, we think, well, the psychic told me this and it didn't happen, so I know that's not for real. But one of you guys explained this is the possibility. So if it's showing up, we see abundance and we see fortune coming in your life for this. 9 times out of 10, they tell you what you should do with it. And that's the same with Odu readings. Like they're
Yep.
going to tell you, but this is what you do. So if you take that information and you don't do what it suggests you need to do to get that or get there, that's not going to happen.
Yep.
So
Inspired action is required.
yeah, so I think that's where a lot of us get confused too, is that what it tells you that's going to happen is definitely going to happen. Like, no, these are the many possibilities, because at the end of the day, we always, we have our own will. So you can choose at any moment, which would then change you, you call it timelines. I remember when you introduced the thought of timelines to me, I was like, oh my God. I look at every decision and choice I do now so differently. But like you said, that one choice, that one decision, it could change your timeline for you. And so I think that's what readings are doing. Readings are laying out these possibilities and these options of the direction you can go in. Now,
And another thing too is the other part of the reading is, say for instance, if somebody is using something like affirmations,
mm-hmm,
or if there's like a recommendation of like how to eat certain
yes,
foods that might help you align, then it's like in order to get to A,
yes,
this might be the action you need to take. Maybe you need to use these affirmations. We didn't bring up affirmations in the energy work, but affirmations
uh,
do help shift energy. And of
mm-hmm,
course, the way we eat,
yeah.
maybe even having the reading itself, it's going to help shift your direction. Because had you not gotten the reading, then you may not go in that direction that you've been told. But at least the reading is going to tell you
It's gonna tell you.
what you need to do.
Yes. So I definitely, so that, and when you were saying like the eating and the food, for me too, that's like following clean of food, but that's something I've always believed too, that food is a big could change our emotional state. If
It's true.
you're eating
It's true.
processed food, lower vibrational foods, and you're already down and depressed, it's not going to do anything to help elevate it. Versus if you start eating live foods and higher vibrating food, it can change. And I've gotten into the researching of what foods to go with certain chakras, and like, so if this chakra is blocked, these are the type of foods you should be eating, because again, it's all energy. It's
I
that
was just thinking
the
that.
food is energy. So why not? Like, why not use food to help heal too? That's
Mm.
why, like, when you were sick and your grandma would make you the chicken noodle soup, 9 out of 10 times it might not even been what was in the soup. It was her energy she was putting into that.
So good.
Yes, and so that's for me, is learning to eat more healing foods, and that's why we call it soul food.
Mm. That is so good. Okay, Sierra, this has been such a good
Yes,
conversation. I feel
thank
honored to be your guide, your mentor, your
you.
teacher, one of your
I'm
teachers.
blessed. I'm blessed. And I think when I do my gratitude journal, you're like on there once a week. At least once a week. I'm grateful for Tyra.
I actually write into my gratitude journal about everyone who I work with too. So just know you're in my gratitude journal also.
Thank you.
Okay, so as the mentor that I am, I need to share with you all, how do you connect with Sierra more? Y'all know here in the Goddess Body Mind Spirit community, we all about supporting our sisters, our community members. And so you've been seeing at the bottom of the screen, you can subscribe to her YouTube channel. She has only just recently launched it, so it'd be great. Which her subscribers keep going up. I'm like, see, that's how you know you're doing what you're supposed to do. I'm like, look at this. Every time I look at her channel, the subscribers are higher. Well, we see subscribers as humans. So I see you have more
Yeah.
people who are, watching your videos and subscribing. But yeah, Ari Sage, it would be awesome if y'all would follow Sierra there, and just keep up with her video. This one, is that your personality, or is it a trauma response? Is fire. Okay.
Thank
Total
you.
fire.
And that one definitely, like I told you, that one came from a place of spirit. Definitely.
You know why? Because you are a high priestess. And look, Sarah is very humble. She's like,
Yeah.
oh, wait a minute. I just need to make sure that I'm doing this right. That's the Virgo
That's
in
me.
her.
Like, I'm like, I need to make sure.
But
I
I
don't want to
assure
drop the
her every time we talk, I'm like, girl,
yeah,
you got the juice. You got the
I know. And
power.
that's why I'm thankful. Every young Black woman should have a Tyra, okay? Like, we should all like that person. And I've been blessed. Not only do I have you, but I have other strong, other women who are very encouraging to me. And so I'm thankful for you.
It's just like a love fest. Just so
Yeah.
much gratitude for each other. So yeah, you're gonna hear the music kind of come up, but
Okay.
thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for being here, Sierra. Thank you everybody for watching. Please let us know, what are your thoughts? What are your experiences? From what I find, many of us have experienced a lot of what Sierra and I have talked about today. So yeah, let's keep the conversation going, and let's either support the healers, or if you're supposed to be a healer, I'm gonna need for you to go on ahead and step into your work and your power. Let's get this done, goddesses. All right. Thanks, Sierra. Peace to everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.